I remember the sound of the notary's pen more clearly than the face of the man holding it. A sharp, deliberate click. Clean and final, like a trigger being pulled. The air in the room felt tight, too staged. Her mother sat across from me, lips pressed into a smile so practiced it looked carved into her skin, the kind of smile that tasted like poison. And Lena, my wife, my supposed partner, perched beside her, hands folded too neatly, her gaze carefully blank, her silence louder than any words she could have spoken. They slid the document across the table like they were offering me a cherished keepsake, like this was a moment to treasure. But there was no warmth in that paper. It wasn't a memory. It was a snare. "I just think it's fair," her mother said, her voice dripping with honeyed malice, like sugar stirred into tea laced with cyanide. "Now that you're married, it's time to think about the future. Joint ownership. It's standard." But nothing about that moment was standard. And they didn't know that I already knew. I'd met Lena in spring. The air had smelled of new beginnings. And she'd smiled at me like she didn't know how to lie. That's how it starts, isn't it? That's how they get you. She was smart, magnetic, patient in ways that seemed rare. We talked about books, about plans, about places we'd go. She spoke of family that wasn't rich, but proud, people who valued loyalty over gold. And I believed her. I believed every soft word that left her lips. By the time we stood at the altar, I was certain I'd found something real. I didn't tell her about the 3 apartments my grandfather left me, the quiet man who died 6 months before I met her. 3 flats, all in my name, no debts, no strings. I kept it quiet. I didn't want wealth to be part of our foundation. I wanted love, not leverage. But 7 days. 7 days after our vows, there was a knock at the door. Her mother stood there, with a notary and that same sharp smile. That's when it began. The questions about our finances turning from casual to pointed. Where were the deeds? What savings did we have? What exactly were we building? I kept my answers vague, watching as Lena's tone shifted from gentle curiosity to brittle insistence. One night, I pretended to sleep, heart beating slow and steady, as she whispered into phone. "He hasn't said anything yet. Maybe he's hiding something. I am being patient. Mom, just give me a week." And there was the voice I thought I knew, stripped of its softness. Cold, strategic. I wasn't a man she loved. I was a prize she hadn't yet claimed. The husband? No, I was an acquisition. I didn't shout, didn't accuse. I watched, and I prepared. I moved 1 apartment into a trust under my uncle's name. Another, I shifted to a holding company abroad. The third, I refinanced so it appeared under mortgage debt, though the keys stayed in my pocket. Quietly, I locked it all down. Then I got smarter. I hired a friend, someone who worked in shadows, to trace her communications. What he found, for most, it might have broken them. But me, it made me sharper. This wasn't her first time. 2 years ago, another man, a quick marriage, a faster divorce, a settlement so generous it felt planned. And it had been. Her mother had orchestrated it all. This was their game, their family business. Emotional fraud dressed in white lace. Legal ambush hidden in wedding vows. The morning I confronted them, I dressed like a man going into battle. My suit was neat, my face unreadable. I let them speak first. Her mother laid out the documents with her usual charm, as if she wasn't trying to steal what didn't belong to her. Lena kept her head down, playing reluctant, the victim of circumstance. "Why now?" I asked, voice steady. Lena gave me a small, rehearsed smile. "Because we trust each other." I nodded, slow. Then I stood, crossed the room, opened the safe, and pulled out 3 envelopes. "Funny," I said, placing them before them, "because I've been preparing for this moment for weeks." I told them to open them, and they did. Their faces drained of color as they saw what was inside. Legal records, proof of her past schemes, photographs of her meetings with lawyers, transcripts of her phone calls. Every betrayal stamped and dated. "You married a man," I said quietly, "but you mistook him for a fool." And then came the last blow. I turned to the notary. "Would you kindly witness this?" I slid forward a document I'd had ready for weeks, a legal separation of assets, notarized binding. The signature? Copied perfectly from a previous form. Clean, legal, ironclad. I handed over proof of forgery. Attempted fraud. Conspiracy to manipulate a marital union for financial gain. Lena's tears started then. Her mother hissed curses under her breath. But it didn't matter. You came here to take what's mine, I said, voice low and calm. But all you've done is hand me everything I need to bury you in court. I stood, buttoned my jacket. You have 48 hours to leave my apartment. After that, my lawyer takes over. And I promise you, he's far less polite than I am. The fallout came fast. Lena begged, cried, claimed confusion, love, regret. But I didn't hear her anymore. She left 2 days later. Her mother never came back. The notary sent me a quiet note of sympathy. No return address. A wise man. I filed for annulment on grounds of fraud. No contest. No alimony. I moved the last apartment into a trust no one could ever touch. And some nights, when the city hums outside my window, I replay that day. The exact moment she realized the snare she set had already been dismantled before she'd even sprung it. People mistake silence for weakness. But I wasn't quiet because I was blind. I was quiet because I was calculating. They thought they'd found a man they could play. But all they did was show me exactly how far I could go when I was pushed. So if you ever find yourself at the board, remember, don't play chess with someone who's been planning their next move long before you even showed up to the game.